The story is set in Spain, beginning with a man named Manel, who is also a husband. He is visiting his sister's house. Manel isn't alone. He is accompanied by his wife, Julia. They both look very happy, especially Manel, who is joyfully playing with his young niece.
No, no tengo sueño.
Que sí, hombre, que la tía y yo nos tenemos que ir a casa.
Buenas noches.
On their way home, Julia brought up the topic of having children. For the past 2 years of their marriage, Manel had consistently refused the idea, citing his busy schedule as a lawyer. However, seeing Manel so engaged while playing with his niece earlier had left Julia feeling irritated. This irritation escalated into an argument, distracting them to the point where disaster struck. One year later, Manel is now a widower after Julia, his wife, passed away in the accident that night. Over the past year, rumors have been spreading about a new virus that has become a hot topic of discussion. This virus is said to be more deadly than COVID-19. According to circulating information, anyone infected with this virus will lose control of themselves. To make ends meet after leaving his career as a lawyer, Manel decided to sell his boat to someone else. It was a difficult decision for him, as the boat held many memories of his time with Julia, his late wife. However, the buyer seemed less interested in the old model boat. After the failed transaction, Manel went straight to Walmart. It happened to be crowded that day due to news about a new virus, raising concerns about a potential lockdown. After picking up a few items, Manel returned home, where he now lived alone with his beloved cat.
Todos los casos están controlados en España. Es decir, estamos conteniendo la enfermedad.
Not long after, Manel received a call from his older sister, who wanted to talk about the increasingly alarming new virus. It was predicted that quarantine measures would soon be enforced. His sister was planning to go to an island called Canary Island, believed to be the safest place so far. She urged Manel to join her for their safety.
Imagínate que nos vuelven a confinar como con el COVID y tú te quedas ahí solo, tirado.
The next morning, Manel noticed all his neighbors packing up and planning to leave the city. It seemed the virus was indeed real, and everyone was terrified. This prompted Manel to quickly drive to the airport, determined to leave for Canary Island with his older sister.
Se multiplican las fuentes que confirman una noticia alarmante, la emergencia de una nueva variante del virus TSJ.
Upon arriving at the airport, Manel still had to wait about 2 hours for his departure. However, as passengers waited for what felt like an eternity, all flights were suddenly canceled. This was followed by an emergency announcement from the government, advising everyone to avoid traveling anywhere. Instead of getting home quickly, Manel found himself stuck in an extraordinarily long traffic jam. Seeing no end to the gridlock, Manel and many others decided to walk to their respective homes. When Manel got back to the neighborhood, he was greeted by chaos. Emergency workers were taking away his neighbor thought to have the virus. That's when it became clear the virus could turn people into zombies. Not knowing what else to do, Manel went straight into his house and lay down to sleep. That night he was haunted by vivid nightmares of the accident. The next morning, Manel got a call from his older sister. She told him that both air and road routes had been closed. The safest thing to do for now was to stay at home. Since her husband was quite wealthy, they planned to pick Manel up by helicopter. However, she couldn't confirm when, as they needed to monitor the situation first.
Pase lo que pase, tú quédate en casa. Pase lo que pase.
After the call, Manel started scrolling through TikTok to check the latest updates. Just as his sister said, chaos was breaking out as people protested against the lockdown. He even stumbled upon a video explaining how to survive a zombie attack. Suddenly, a second emergency alert went out, warning that the situation had grown even more critical. Manel rushed to Walmart to stock up on supplies, but things didn't go as planned. There was nothing left at Walmart except cat food, So Manel rushed to Target and managed to find a few supplies. Just as he was about to leave, a wounded police officer appeared and locked himself inside the Target store. And then, suddenly, seeing an officer under attack, Manel quickly grabbed something hard to help. But before he could act, the zombie suddenly turned and lunged at him instead. Just as the news had warned, the virus spread through wounds. The officer who locked himself inside the store slowly turned into a zombie. Outside, another officer shouted at Manel, urging him to leave immediately. As the situation grew more chaotic, Manel started reinforcing his house with sharp fences and CCTV cameras at the front. While these measures weren't proven to be effective, they showed his determination to survive. As night fell, civilians were being evacuated one by one to a safe zone. But Manel's sister quickly sent him a message, warning him not to trust it. She explained that the more people gathered in one place, the higher the risk of danger.
Para allá, por favor.
The officers started pounding on his front door. Manel stayed quiet, holding his breath, but his cat's relentless meowing broke the silence. And then...
Esto no se abre. Vámonos.
2 weeks after everyone was evacuated to the safe zone, Manel became the only person left in the neighborhood. He used solar panels to keep a few appliances running in his house, but the problem was that there was no signal, leaving Manel unable to contact his sister. Armed with a fishing spear and a few handmade tools, Manel went from house to house, searching for leftover food. Eventually, he accidentally came across an old woman who had also chosen to stay in her home. After getting to know each other, Manel and the old lady grew close and started working together to survive. She knew exactly which houses in the neighborhood had food, making it easier for Manel to search. There wasn't much food Manel could find. Even when he did, most of it was spoiled, rotten, and completely inedible. However, they did manage to find something they could drink. But the biggest surprise came when Manel stumbled upon a dirt bike that was still in perfect working condition. It would surely help him, not in the AMA Motocross Championship, of course, but in searching for more food. That evening, with the little food Manel had found, he and the old lady shared dinner, pretending everything was normal. To stay sane, they talked. She revealed that her children had abandoned her, calling her a burden because she couldn't walk. Manel felt sympathetic and promised himself he'd never do the same. Late at night, Manel was woken up by the old lady on the walkie-talkie. She told him about a radio broadcast urging survivors to go to Canary Island, the only safe place left. Believing his sister might already be there, Manel decided to use his old boat to head there, bringing the old lady along. The next morning, Manel packed his belongings and prepared to leave for the dock. But when he went to pick up the old lady, he was shocked to find that she had taken her own life. In the note she left behind, she explained that she did it because she didn't want to be a burden to anyone. After just finding a companion in such a dire situation, Manel once again had to face loss. As he wandered outside, lost in thought suddenly, for the first time, Manel managed to kill a zombie by shooting it directly in the head. This moment also became a crucial discovery for him. Realizing that to kill a zombie quickly, the head or brain must be the primary target. Not wanting to waste any more time, Manel decided to head to the dock, bringing along his only remaining companion, his beloved cat. He chose to use the dirt bike as his main mode of transportation. If Manel thought his bike could keep him safe from the zombies, he was terribly mistaken. As he rode through the forest, dozens of zombies suddenly appeared and began chasing him. Things got even worse when Manel entered a campsite, where even more zombies started running after him. And yeah, Manel fell off his bike after crashing into a pile of corpses. To make matters worse, the bike wouldn't start again, forcing Manel to run as fast as he could to escape the chasing zombies. When Manel arrived at the dock, all the boats were gone, including his own. However, after looking around, he eventually found a boat that had been abandoned by its owner. Determined, he swam out to it to check if it was usable. Manel, and let's be honest, probably all of you, were startled by a toddler who had already turned into a zombie. Since the boat wouldn't start, Manel used a small rowboat to cross to another dock, hoping to find a vessel that was still usable. Not long after, a patrol boat carrying survivors appeared. They rescued Manel and took him straight to the main ship. Upon arriving at the main ship, Manel was introduced to a man named Victor, the only person who could speak Spanish. Manel was also introduced to the ship's captain, Ushakov. They were all Ukrainian survivors, known for creating a safe haven and traveling as a group with the goal of recruiting members to build a stronger force. When asked about his profession, Manel replied that he was a lawyer and the owner of a solar energy company. This immediately earned a positive response from Captain Ushakov, who then left to allow Manel to rest.
Le dije que eres ingeniero. ¿A nadie le gustan los abogados?
While escorting Manel to his room, Victor opened up a little about himself. He shared that he was a helicopter pilot and had lived a normal life until his wife was declared infected. That's when everything fell apart. Eventually, Victor met the captain, who kindly saved him. In the middle of the night, as Manel struggled to fall asleep, he noticed a group of new survivors arriving, desperately seeking help. Seeing others who had managed to survive gave Manel a sense of relief, making him feel less isolated in this chaotic world. The next morning, during breakfast, Manel approached Victor to ask about the survivors who had arrived the night before. Victor firmly stated that no other survivors had been found besides him. This made Manel start to feel uneasy about everyone on the ship. As a local, Manel was asked by Captain Ushakov to point out the locations of important places such as car factories, weapon stores, healthcare centers, and more. This request only deepened Manel's suspicion that the captain might be planning something for his own benefit. Still curious about where the survivors from last night had gone, Manel expressed his suspicions about Captain Ushakov's hidden agenda. Noticing that Victor also seemed unhappy being on the ship, Manel told him about a helicopter at a nearby hospital and suggested they use it to escape to Canary Island together. Since Victor refused his offer, Manel decided to leave the ship on his own. As he was preparing to sneak away, Manel accidentally heard screams coming from one of the rooms, and it turned out that to be the survivors Manel had seen the night before. Whatever the captain was planning for them remained unclear, but as Manel managed to free one of them, one of the captain's crew suddenly appeared and pointed a gun at him, and then unexpectedly, Victor managed to save Manel and even agreed to go to Canary Island with him. They successfully escaped, despite being showered with bullets by the captain and his crew. Upon reaching land, Manel carried Victor, who had been shot, to an area filled with abandoned cars. After spotting a zombie trapped inside one of the cars, Manel quickly shot it and took control of the vehicle. During their journey to the hospital with the helicopter, Victor finally opened up about Captain Ushakov, revealing that he was far from a good person. The captain only saved those he deemed useful and capable of contributing to his group, while those without skills or abilities were locked up and used as bait for starving zombies. Upon arriving at the hospital, Manel was once again startled by a group of zombies attacking. Without hesitation, he grabbed a rifle and quickly, the two of them entered the hospital, aiming to reach the rooftop where the helicopter was stationed. However, the same challenge remained: the zombies. Once again, Manel had to fight to survive while protecting the injured Victor until finally, it turned out that two women and some children were still alive, hiding inside a locked room to stay safe. Manel realized he had to remain there for now until the danger subsided.
Le hemos sacado la bala. Tiene un poco de fiebre, así que tenemos que esperar.
Muchísimas gracias.
Luckily, there was a signal in this area, allowing Manel to check the messages from his sister. In one of the videos she sent, his sister, in tears, confessed that she had made it to Canary Island. Crying, she apologized for not being able to keep her promise to pick him up, explaining that the circumstances were completely out of her control. Not long after, the captain and his crew showed up, having tracked the two of them down. With no time to waste, they had to leave immediately. Moving cautiously, they made their way out of the room and successfully reached the top floor where the helicopter was located. The real problem was the countless zombies outside the door, clearly determined to stop them from reaching the helicopter. Remembering a TikTok video he had seen earlier, Manel quickly improvised by creating a protective shield using several hospital carts he found nearby. After a draining and nerve-wracking fight, Manel made it to the helicopter. While Victor worked on getting it started, Manel had to step up once more, fending off the zombies to keep them from overrunning the helipad. The worst part was that Captain Ushakov and his crew had already made it there, slipping into the helipad area through another entrance. Left with no other choice, Manel had to open the main doors, allowing the zombies to storm in and go after Ushakov and his men. Eventually, Manel and his group managed to take off, leaving the place behind. While en route to Canary Island, Manel received an unexpected call from his sister, warning him about the island's current state. She explained that it had already been overrun by the infection and urged Manel not to proceed. The ending serves as a sobering reminder that even in the direst circumstances, survival often means accepting hard truths and uncertain futures. I'm Chiboy, thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.